The Kronstadt Rebellion, also known as the Kronstadt Uprising, was a failed revolt against the Bolshevik government in Russia that took place in March 1921. The rebellion was launched by a group of left-wing anarchists, socialists, and sailors who had grown disillusioned with the Bolsheviks' policies, particularly their handling of the economy and their suppression of political freedom. The Kronstadt Rebellion was one of the most significant challenges to Bolshevik rule from the left during the Russian Civil War and ended with the crushing defeat of the rebels after a week of intense fighting. Background: the Kronstadt naval base had been a stronghold of the Bolsheviks during the Russian Revolution, with many of the sailors supporting the Bolsheviks' call for an end to the war and the establishment of a socialist government. However, as the Bolsheviks consolidated their power and began to implement their policies, the sailors became increasingly disillusioned. One of the main sources of discontent was the Bolsheviks' policy of war communism, which involved the forced requisitioning of grain from peasants to feed the Red Army and the urban population. This policy led to widespread food shortages, and the Kronstadt sailors were among those who suffered the most. They also objected to the Bolsheviks' suppression of political freedom, including the banning of other leftist groups and the establishment of a one-party state. The Kronstadt Manifesto. In February 1921, the sailors at Kronstadt drafted a set of demands known as the Kronstadt Manifesto. The manifesto called for the restoration of political freedom, including the right to form independent labor unions and political parties. It also demanded an end to the policy of forced requisitioning of grain and the introduction of a free market in agricultural goods. The manifesto also called for the release of political prisoners, an end to the Red Terror, and the decentralization of power from the central government to local councils. The Bolshevik response. The Bolshevik government, led by Vladimir Lenin and Leon Trotsky, responded to the Kronstadt Manifesto with force. Trotsky, who was in charge of the Red Army, ordered troops to surround the naval base and prepare for an assault. Lenin described the Kronstadt sailors as traitors and counter-revolutionaries and called for their suppression. The assault on Kronstadt. On March 7, 1921, the Red Army launched a massive assault on the Kronstadt naval base. The rebels put up a fierce resistance, but they were heavily outnumbered and outgunned. The Red Army bombarded the island with artillery fire and launched a ground assault from multiple directions. After a week of intense fighting, the Kronstadt rebels were defeated. Many of the sailors were killed in the fighting, while others were captured and executed. The exact number of casualties is not known, but estimates range from several hundred to several thousand. Aftermath. The crushing of the Kronstadt Rebellion was a turning point in the Russian Civil War. It marked the end of any serious challenge to Bolshevik rule from the left and solidified the Bolsheviks' grip on power. However, it also served as a warning to any potential opposition groups that the Bolsheviks were willing to use force to maintain their grip on power. The events at Kronstadt have been widely criticized by anarchists and leftists as an act of betrayal by the Bolsheviks, who had previously championed the cause of the working class and promised to create a more egalitarian society. The events at Kronstadt have also been cited as evidence of the authoritarian nature of the Bolshevik regime and the dangers of one-party rule. Conclusion. The Kronstadt Rebellion was a failed uprising against the Bolshevik government in Russia that took place in March 1921. The rebellion was launched by a group of left-wing anarchists, socialists, and sailors who had grown disillusioned with